guys, it's TheNathan709 here, and this guy's pushing 40. Yes, this year marks the 40th anniversary of the Mario franchise, something that has given me a tremendous amount of existential dread. I mean, what kind of man would I be today if Miyamoto didn't give birth to that guy? Thank God his parents hooked up. But nonetheless, this guy is old. And over the years, Nintendo has loved telling us that.
Nintendo loves to go all out for Mario's anniversaries. And I mean, it makes sense. He's the mascot of the company after all. But compared to their other franchises, they do so much. For Mario, they'll be like,
alright everyone, this is Mario's 40th anniversary, so we have to go big. We're gonna be releasing Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 for the Nintendo Switch. We're putting a massive balloon of Mario dressed as the turkey in the Macy's parade this year. Attention to all facial hair fans, we're making a Mario grooming kit. Cause why not? We're finally making Mario themed spaghetti. The fans don't want it, but we do. It'll cost $200. Everyone say thank you to Billy on the way out because he gave us the best idea yet. A Mario themed golden toilet that plays the 1-up sound effect every time you flush. And if you become an early adopter, you get a free Bowser bidet.
And then for Zelda, they're like,
so we're gonna make socks.
yeah, Nintendo takes celebrating Mario very seriously. Over the years, they've released merchandise, consoles, promotions. Think of anything, they've probably done it. Okay, maybe not everything. But one of the standout things Nintendo likes to do was to have some sort of tie-in game. This is something Nintendo has done for the past 3 anniversaries. The 25th anniversary in 2010, the 30th in 2015, and the 35th in 2020.
So this year, I wanted to take a look back at those previous anniversary games to see if they were a good celebration of the Mario franchise, or if they could have done a bit better.
The 25th anniversary is where Nintendo really stepped up their game with celebrating their franchises. A couple Mario-themed red consoles came out, a ton of merchandise and Club Nintendo rewards, but the star of the show here was a special edition release of Super Mario All-Stars for the Wii. I remember really wanting this as a kid, to the point where I begged my friend to play his copy while over at his house for a sleepover. And I mean, I kinda understand why. On the outside, this is one of the most premium looking game releases Nintendo has ever done. A nice red box with gold lining, an embossed logo, a nice matte finish, all to hide that this is just an SNES ROM on a Wii disc. Oh, we'll get to that. There's also this flap on the front which reveals basically all the information that's already on the back of the box. One side features the 4 games included, while the other side shows all the extra junk you get. Opening up the box, we get 2 cases, one being the game and one being a soundtrack CD. Let's begin with the game here, as it's the main selling point. Again, the packaging is just really nice here. I mean, that's a gold Mario. It has to be special.
Alright, they brought in the trumpets. This really must be special. Where did the trumpets go?
Yeah, so, it's just the original SNES game. There is nothing added to it. No extra features or content, and nothing indicating the 25th anniversary. It's literally just the SNES ROM dumped onto a Wii disc.
Don't get me wrong, Super Mario All-Stars is an amazing package, especially for anyone who hasn't played these games before. But these 4 games have been released to death before this.
We had the original release of All-Stars on the SNES, which was re-released a year later, now including Super Mario World. Super Mario Bros. Deluxe on the Game Boy Color, which not only included the original Super Mario Bros., but also the Lost Levels. Super Mario Advance 1 and 4, remakes of Super Mario Bros. 2 and 3 respectively, which are very similar to their Super Mario All-Stars versions. Super Mario Bros. Released on the Game Boy Advance under the classic NES label, and all 4 games were already on the Wii's Virtual Console. And yeah, that reminds me. Back in 2010, you could already play all 4 of these games on the Wii, even at a lower price. If you wanted to experience these games, you already could. But I can't hate it. If I were a parent and saw this, Getting 4 games for $30 seemed like a pretty good deal. And I can't really deny it. As a kid, this would be a perfect way for you to experience some great games. Plus the lost levels. As much as I just complained about how unnecessary this release was, I can't really deny that this is still a great way to play these games. There's 4 games available to play here: Super Mario Bros., Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, Super Mario Bros. 2, and Super Mario Bros. 3. The original Super Mario Bros. Will always have a soft spot for me, as it's the game that kickstarted my interest in retro gaming. And this is a pretty good version of the game, mainly thanks to its enhanced visuals that make it look 10 times nicer. My only issue is that the game is a tad bit slippery, but overall, this is still a really good way to experience the game. The Lost Levels, though, I don't know how a 5-year-old could play this. I haven't tried to sit down and finish this one yet, but from what I've played, it's just stupidly hard. It makes sense why they decided to port a completely different game over here for our Super Mario Bros. 2, which is a lot easier to get the hang of. Yes, it's a little bit different, but so many characters from this game became mainstays in the franchise. And Super Mario Bros. 3, man, this is just one of the greatest games of all time. I don't think it matters what release of the game you play, they're all really good. So overall, it's still a really good package, even if it was a little unnecessary. Moving on, this game also came with a soundtrack CD. This came in its very own Wii case, which I'm very mixed on. On one hand, it definitely helped it feel a little bit more special than just using a regular CD case. But on the other hand, you aren't able to play CDs on the Wii, so having it in a Wii case is also kind of confusing. As for the CD, I'm once again very mixed. It has a very nice gold disc, and remember, gold equals special. But then we get to the contents. There's 20 tracks on here. 10 of those are one piece of music from most of Mario's mainline games up to that point, which is honestly pretty cool. It's not really something that's needed nowadays. You can pretty much find all these tracks on YouTube now, but I still love the novelty of having them on a disc. Now the other half of the disc is a different story, because the last 10 tracks are 1-second sound effects from Super Mario Bros. What? I don't know. Why did they do this? This is half of the disc. I feel like it would have been so much cooler if they utilized these 20 tracks to give us 20 full music tracks. Either have 2 music tracks from each mainline Mario game up to that point, or even better, have the last 10 tracks be music from some of the Mario spin-off games. It would have been very cool to have some tracks from Mario Kart or Mario Party. It would have made this soundtrack CD a whole lot better, because I don't know anyone who would want 1-second sound effects from an NES game played at a party. The last thing included in this release is a Super Mario history booklet. I've heard a few opinions about how this booklet is a little bit lackluster, but I kind of have a different view about it. I think this booklet is actually pretty nice. It's nothing that special, but I have a little bit of a soft spot for things like this. This booklet gives us a very brief history of the Mario franchise, giving us 1 page per game, with some brief notes from the developers. There's also some artwork sprinkled throughout, including a timeline, concept sketches for a few games, and a picture of a bunch of Nintendo employees forming a 25. I do agree, there isn't a ton of information in there. It isn't jam-packed with behind-the-scenes facts or showing us every single Mario game in the franchise's history up to that point, but I just can't hate it. Sure, you can find all this information online nowadays, but I imagine that a young kid who maybe hasn't been exposed to that information yet would genuinely find this a bit interesting. And honestly, for me, I also see it as a time capsule of the time that this was released. I love collecting these, no matter how much information is packed into it. The 30th anniversary took place during the Wii U era, which was also Mario's vanilla era. This was when a lot of the marketing for the franchise was based on the new Super Mario Bros. Games, playing it really safe. A lot of the edginess and the uniqueness from the GameCube era was long gone, and games lacked new ideas and things that made them stand out from one another. You could put 2 Mario games next to each other, and nothing really stands out. It just looks like another Mario game. But in the midst of this, Nintendo gave us probably the most inventive and interesting Mario anniversary game to this day. Super Mario Maker, released in September 2015, just in time for the 30th anniversary. As the name suggests, this is a Mario level creator, an idea that makes so much sense. This is something that I and a lot of other people have dreamed of. And with it releasing on the Wii U, having an extra screen with a stylus was perfect. When this was first announced, I obviously really wanted it. We borrowed it from a family friend for a couple of days, and I had a chance to finally create my first few levels. It was such a surreal experience, being able to put whatever the heck I wanted into a level. And after a few months had passed, I finally received the game for myself on my birthday. And I
3, 2, 1, fight!
Made some more. Super Mario Maker is, like I said earlier, probably the best Mario Anniversary game all around. First of all, the level creation tool is perfect for Wii U. To create levels, you use the gamepad to drag in whatever your heart desires. It is very accessible to anyone, and very straightforward in its design. There are 4 gameplay styles to choose from: Super Mario Bros., Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario World, and New Super Mario Bros. U. Originally, it was only going to feature Super Mario Bros. And New Soup U, and I am so glad they changed it. Each of these games have unique gameplay mechanics and styles, so it gave people more options to work with. A really cool feature they added to the level creation was its amiibo functionality. By scanning an amiibo to the gamepad, you would get a costume of that character, which could then be used in your level, changing Mario's appearance and sometimes even changing the gameplay style to that character. This is still one of the best ways amiibo has been used. I wish they still did stuff like this today. Nowadays, a lot of the amiibo support is just extra items, which is cool, but I miss the days when they did unique things like this. Nintendo also released 2 special 8-bit Mario amiibos to coincide with the game. All they did was make Mario bigger or skinnier, but hey, they are still some of the coolest amiibo ever. But one of the best features in this game was the ability to share your creations online. This not only let creators share their work with others, but offered players an endless amount of levels to enjoy. Now, of course, you can't play any of these levels anymore after online services were shut down for the Wii U, because Nintendo loves preserving their content. We'll get to that later. But that's really the only downside to this game nowadays. Everything else still holds up really well. And hey, if you still had the hankering to play someone else's levels, you can still play the 10 Mario Challenge, an 8-level campaign created by Nintendo themselves. This is a really cool way to experience what playing fan-created levels was like, especially now since that you just can't anymore. There was also the 100 Mario Challenge, same concept, just with so many more levels, but the difference is that these were fan-made levels uploaded by users, so thanks again, Nintendo, for preserving your content. But hey, at least I can still play all the levels I created. My 11 to 12-year-old self got pretty creative creating some of these. I tried to recreate Bob-omb Battlefield from Super Mario 64 into a 2D side-scroller, which made me think outside the box as to how to replicate some elements. And I mean, for a kid, I think I did a pretty good job. I also tried to recreate the first level of Geometry Dash. It didn't really work out, but good on me for putting in an effort, I guess. And then there's my Super Smash Bros. Level, one where I
3, 2, 1, fight!
Forgot that you could record your own sound effects until I played this one again. Even though my levels weren't on the same level as some of the other fan-created ones, I still had a lot of fun creating these, and it definitely scratched an itch for me. Alongside the game, similar to Super Mario All-Stars on Wii, Nintendo gave us a special booklet. This was supposed to be some sort of idea booklet to help foster your creativity while creating levels, but it ended up being more like a cool picture book. Yes, there are a lot of ideas in here, but in the form of screenshots from levels created in the game. Now, some of these have codes next to them, and when you entered them into the game, they would give you a tutorial clip of how to make that thing, which is kind of cool, but I just wish it explained it in the book instead. I feel like it would have been so much cooler if this book was filled with tips and tricks into making levels, with written tutorials showing you how to make certain obstacles, or even some words from the developers themselves talking about how they go about making a Mario level. This book had so much potential to be so much more, but instead, it just feels a bit rushed. I still like owning it for the same reasons why I like the All-Stars one, acting as some sort of time capsule, but this one disappointed me a lot more, as I can see what could have been done here. So overall, Super Mario Maker was an amazing game, the most interesting anniversary game yet, but could have done a whole lot more to truly celebrate Mario's legacy. 2020 was a very strange year, not just for Nintendo, but for the world. We all had to stay inside because the sun started charging rent that year. Everything was kind of uncertain. Things were starting to shut down, and businesses were having to do work remotely, which very much affected the gaming industry. But through all of this, Nintendo started taking a different approach when announcing games. A lot of their game announcements this year were just shadow dropped on a random day. This was the case for Paper Mario the Origami King and Pikmin 3 Deluxe, to name a few. I would just randomly go on Twitter and see a tweet with a trailer attached without any warning. So it was clear this was going to be Nintendo's approach for the time being. That being said, it was also the 30th anniversary of the Mario franchise this year, and rumors were running rampant. It was rumored that a 3D Mario collection was going to be released to coincide with the anniversary, which sounded too good to be true. But after many months of speculation and rumors, came September 3rd, 2020. I remember waking up that day, rubbing my eyes, probably going back to sleep, then waking up, rubbing my eyes, grabbing my phone, and opening up the YouTube app.
Super Mario 3D All-Stars?
The 3D Mario collection that everyone was talking about was finally, officially, real. I immediately got myself out of bed and grabbed my camera to record my reaction. And I was so excited that I didn't even realize that this was a part of a Super Mario 35th Anniversary Direct that Nintendo shadow dropped that day. We had so many random announcements in here, from merch to DLC, an interactive IRL Mario Kart game, but of course, the big takeaway was Super Mario 3D All-Stars, which was set to release in only a few weeks' time. And when that day came, it had a bit of a conflicting response. Okay, first things first, this is an incredible package. You get 3 of the greatest games of all time bundled together, all for the price of a standard Switch game. That is an incredible deal. And the games themselves play pretty good on the Switch. Super Mario 64 is pretty faithful. They used the Shindo version from Japan here, which not only changed Bowser's sexual orientation, but also removed some glitches present in the original game, which isn't fun for speedrunners like myself. I had to resort to trying them in real life. They also upgraded a few visual elements. A lot of the textures are now displayed in full HD, including all the UI elements. And that's pretty much all they changed. One thing I wish they did was display the game in 16:9 widescreen. I don't really understand why they didn't. They were able to do so for Sunshine, so why couldn't they do it here? But if you overlook that, this is a fine way to play the game. Personally, ever since I started speedrunning the game, I find it hard to go through the game without using glitches, so I don't typically go back to this version. But if you're normal, you'd have a fine experience. Moving on to Super Mario Sunshine, this was actually the first time I experienced playing through the game. I've always tried to play the game, but I've never gotten fully into it. But with it being on the Switch now, I sat down and finally played through it. And it's definitely not my favorite. I know a lot of people adore this game, and from my experience, it's either your favorite Mario game or it's not. I sort of fall into the middle of this. I like the game, I mean it's a Mario game, look at me, but I wouldn't play it over any of the other 3D Mario games. There were just a lot of frustrating moments. The controls are a bit different to get used to, and overall it was just a very unique but strange game. But at the same time, it's a 3D Mario game, so I just can't hate it. Don't get me wrong, I know I just said it was a bit frustrating, but I still had a lot of fun playing it. And to be fair, I've only played through the game once, so maybe a replay would make me change my view on the game. Performance-wise, it also doesn't run too bad. It's in widescreen now. It only runs at 30 frames, but it really doesn't take away from the experience. So overall, if you haven't played Super Mario Sunshine before, like myself at one point, again, this is a perfectly fine way to experience it for the first time. Lastly, we have Super Mario Galaxy, which is just incredible. This was also my first time finishing Galaxy. I had the game growing up, but I never got far. Nevertheless, I still had a lot of nostalgia for the game. I talked about my experience finishing Galaxy for the first time over 4 years ago now, so I'm gonna try my best to keep it brief here. This game looks phenomenal in this collection. A full 1080p resolution with 60 frames. It's hard to believe that this was originally a Wii game. You can use 2 Joy-Cons like you would a Wii Remote and Nunchuck, and it isn't too bad. Sure, it's not as precise as the Wii version, but I think it gets the job done. But if that's not your thing, you can play now using a standard controller, with motion control elements now being mapped to buttons. Galaxy quickly became my favorite Mario game of all time after playing through it. And again, if this is someone's first experience playing the game, it does a pretty fine job.
So game-wise, Super Mario 3D All-Stars does an amazing job delivering. As for the extra content though, I mean, at least it's not 3 albums of sound effects.
Yeah, so included in these games are each of their soundtracks. I think it's a fine addition, but it doesn't really add much to the collection. You can just find all of these on YouTube, which is way more accessible if you wanted to listen to any of these. But it's cool that they included it here.
So overall, while it could have been a lot more, Super Mario 3D All-Stars was more than less a really great release. But this wasn't the only game that Nintendo released for the 35th anniversary.
They also released Super Mario 35, which you could download for free on the eShop. This was a battle royale type game, similar to Tetris 99, which had 35 players playing levels from the original Super Mario Bros. At the same time. You didn't have any lives here, so if you died, you were eliminated, and the last person standing would be the winner. I thought it was a pretty cool idea. It's not something that I would be playing for hours, that's not what it was designed for, but it was a fun thing to pick up whenever you just wanted something quick to play. And best of all, like I said, it was a free download, so literally anyone had the opportunity to play this.
Man, the 35th anniversary seemed really good. For the most part. Yes, 3D All-Stars could have been a bit better, but I just can't complain about that. Some of the greatest games of all time are now able to be played on a modern platform, and will be for years to come. But remember when I said that Nintendo loves preserving their content? Yeah, that was a typo.
Why?
Nintendo would only be selling Super Mario 3D All-Stars until March 31st, 2021, months from then. I do not understand why they did this. Was it a scare tactic? Was it to drive up sales? Because if it was, there was really no need because the game didn't sell out. There were loads of copies available, even after March 31st. Not only did they get rid of this on March 31st, but also Super Mario 35. A free download. I just do not see the point. They could have easily kept these available, especially a free download. I don't know anyone who would have complained. I know this is pretty much irrelevant for today, as you can easily play all these games on the Switch without the collection now, but that doesn't take away from the fact that in the moment, this was one of the stupidest decisions Nintendo has ever done. Okay, not really, but you get what I mean.
So after looking back, Nintendo really hasn't had a perfect Mario anniversary game. They've all had good, if not great things going on, but they've all missed the mark in some way. And it doesn't look like they're gonna end anytime soon. With all the 40th anniversary stuff announced earlier this month, again, they've gotten so much right, but have continued to make strange decisions. They're releasing Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 together for Nintendo Switch, plus some really cool amiibo for them. But they aren't doing any sort of upgrade for the people who already own Galaxy 1 through 3D All-Stars. And the prices? They speak for themselves. So with all that being said, how would I personally tackle a Mario anniversary game? Well, I don't need to, because it's already been done. And I meant to say Kirby.
Yes, during Kirby's 20th anniversary in 2012, Nintendo released Kirby's Dream Collection for the Wii. In many ways, it's very similar to what Nintendo did for Super Mario All-Stars. It's a collection of classic games released in a cool box with a special booklet, but this one just excels in quality. This collection is jam-packed with content. We of course have the 6 games included, and yes, some of them you could already own with the Virtual Console, but it also included ones that you couldn't get, like the Game Boy games. We also get a Kirby History Mode, an interactive timeline highlighting every single Kirby game up to that point, and the years they released. Not only those years, but literally every single year since Kirby's introduction in 1992. It mentions so many random world events, from the Olympics to even Obama becoming the president of the US. By selecting each game, you could take a look at the box art and even watch a bit of gameplay. It's also in here that you can watch 2 episodes from the Kirby Right Back At Ya anime, which is a really nice cherry on top. The last thing featured in this collection are extra challenge modes based on Kirby's Return to Dreamland. So not only are you getting a collection of classic games, but you're also getting some brand new content. That is incredible on its own. But that is not all you get. We also get a 20th anniversary celebration book, and again, it does a way better job than the Mario one. There is so much information in here, and again, they talk about every single Kirby game up to that point, which they really didn't need to do, but it just makes it so much more special. And for the soundtrack CD, we get 45 tracks, spanning across, again, every single Kirby game. This has to be one of, if not the greatest collection Nintendo has ever released. There is so much packed in here. So much that they really didn't need to do, but they did it anyways. And I love it.
So, Nintendo is very capable of making a really good anniversary game. I just wish they were putting in that same amount of effort today. And who knows, in 5 years from now, for the next anniversary, Nintendo could really knock it out of the park. Man, I wonder where I'm gonna be then. They didn't do it.